This podcast contains spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What is this? A realm for ants? Hello, my name is Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Rosie Knight.
And welcome to X-Ray Vision, the Crooked Media podcast, where we dive deep all the way down to subatomic size to the quantum realm to talk about your favorite shows, movies, comics, and pop culture.
In this episode, we are going to be riding on the back of giant ants to excavate the
Giant
truth.
subatomic ants.
They're giant in the subatomic
Right.
realm, but
Spoiler.
if you couldn't see them if they were in real life, you know. But we will be on them, and we will be riding them into the airlock, where we will talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with a spoiler-free reaction first, and then a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. In Nerd Out, a theory from listener Grant about the location of He Who Remains lair in Loki Season 1. This is very good. I have actually gotten a lot of DMs with people who think about this, so Grant, I'm excited to hear it. And if you want to jump around, check the show notes for timestamps. Sorry if they're a little bit off. We're dealing with some ad insert issues, but we are trying our best.
We're stepping out of the airlock and into the quantum realm for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. First up, our non-spoiler reaction.
It's fun.
It's a very fun movie.
It's like a wild sci-fi romp through the quantum realm with ants and Kang, and just an unbelievable performance from Jonathan Majors. It will blow you away.
I mean, that's really, for me, the headline is the next person other than Angela Bassett to be nominated for an Oscar off of a Marvel movie. I think it's Jonathan Majors.
No, me too.
He's the most watchable person that's ever been in these movies.
It blows your mind, and it is this emotionally driven, intense, scary, kind. I mean, look, you know this. He's Kang the Conqueror. You've heard him talk about it. This is not a heroic portrayal, but I will tell you, the whole way through the movie, I was just rooting for him. He is so human and incredible, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a tonal shift from the other Ant-Man movies, but you still get pops of that humor and that kind of low stakes. And if you love pulpy sci-fi, weird creatures, Star Wars, Cantina, all that kind of good stuff, you're going to love it.
Yes. And again, Kang.
Kang.
Jonathan Majors just has an ability to make you watch him when he's delivering any line and doing anything. And it gives his portrayal of Kang a real layer of like menace, because there's points in this film where you're like, I know he's the bad guy, but I want to believe everything he said.
Yeah, you want to believe him because he just puts himself across in such a sincere, interesting way, but the movie's not afraid of showing you who Kang really is, or who this iteration of Kang really is. His chemistry with Michelle Pfeiffer is incredible.
Fantastic.
She's so great as Janet. We get more Janet here, which was something that we'd both wanted. Really fun movie for Hank Pym. If you were listening to our podcast last week and you were like, we haven't got enough Hank in the Ant-Man movies, guess what? You're gonna be charmed. You're gonna get so much Hank.
That is our quick reaction, non-spoiler reaction to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Up next. Spoilers, folks. The spoiler-filled recap. So go no further if you have not watched the film. Okay. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, directed by Peyton Reed, written by Jeff Loveness. Paul Rudd is our friend Scott Lang. Evangeline Lilly is back as the Wasp. Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror. Michelle Pfeiffer is back as Janet Van Dyne. Michael Douglas, Hank Pym. And Catherine Newton as our third and final Cassie Lang. Let's jump into our recap. So we open in the quantum realm. This is a flashback to the time when Janet was trapped. Time works differently down there, so we have no idea how long she's been there or what is happening. But she sees a ship enter the realm and crash. She goes over to investigate and is attacked by some sort of alien creature that then splits into two alien creatures that then splits into four. And she takes them out, but one gets the drop on her and it's blasted off of her. Who saved her life but Kang? And he's like, where the hell are we? We go back to the world, the above world.
The above world, the real size world.
where Scott Lang has basically been enjoying his life as a celebrity superhero who saved the world. And not only did he save the world, but he wrote a book about it. And he's happy to talk about it anywhere and everywhere that people want to thank him and talk about it. We see him walking down the street in San Francisco. Everybody's like, Scott, oh my God, Scott, it's great. He walks into his favorite coffee shop where he gets stuff for free. He goes to Baskin Robbins, where he was once fired, but now is treated as
employee of the century.
Employee of the century. People absolutely love him. We learn that Scott's daughter, Cassie, it's not that she's not doing great. It's more that she has very, very strong ideals about helping people who have been wronged and maybe who don't have the power to help themselves. And this has led to her being arrested. So Scott and Hope have to go bail her out. And we also learn that Cassie has a suit of her own, and she's been using it, probably irresponsibly because she's a kid.
Yes, she shrunk a cop car at a protest. And Scott's less than happy with it. Hope seems like vaguely proud. Yeah. But you can tell Cassie's mad that Scott is no longer an active hero.
Yeah, why aren't you doing more heroic shit? The world needs you.
She's like, you literally saved the world, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing else left to do. She was at a protest to stop them sweeping homeless encampments. She is really the person here who's going to kind of have this moral arc to go on as the film goes forward.
They have a family dinner. Cassie and Hank dropped the pretty big news that they've been building a device that will allow communication in the form of mapping of the quantum realm. Janet is like, you got to shut it down. Why, Janet? Well, I don't want to talk about it. Here's where I want to stop and say, Janet, you got to just come clean about some stuff that happened in the quantum realm before this point.
She needed to be more honest to them. But I also feel like the whole family is just constantly fucking around with the quantum realm. And she's like, I was stuck there for 30 years. It was very traumatic. Like, give me a break. And they're like, well, what if we just built this device that would take us to the quantum realm in our basement without you knowing? And she's like, I'd rather you didn't do that.
Well, Janet tells them to shut it down, but it's way too late. And they're all sucked into the device and they fall into the quantum realm. Hank, Janet, and Hope are separated from Scott and Cassie. And Janet leads the Pyms to an old friend named Krylar, played by Bill Murray, who apparently was once a freedom fighter in what we are soon to learn is this land that is in the midst of trying to throw off the yoke of a dictator. Well, this guy Krylar, who used to fight alongside Janet, has sold out, and now he's like a rich guy. They have a meeting with him about trying to reunite with Scott and Cassie, and he says, "Yeah, I know where they are, but unfortunately, I have to hand you over to Kang." But before that can happen, the trio escape, and Hank Pym makes I guess like a squid-like creature that was a delicacy that you drink in very horrific fashion, makes it grow into a large-sized squid that then takes revenge on Krylar. Meanwhile, over at Cassie and Scott, they find themselves in the midst of a group of freedom fighters, including a guy named Quaz.
Yep.
Played by William Jackson Harper, who can read minds.
Spoiler alert, friends, wasn't Quasar. I know a lot of fans were hoping it was. It also was
very
not
close. 2 letters away.
Wasn't Nathaniel Richards, who I was hoping it was, but it was William Jackson Harper, and he can read minds, and he's sick of it. He's absolutely sick of it.
Gentora.
Yes, who we spoke about last week, who is the niece of Hulk's love interest.
That's right.
Jarella in the Microverse.
Played by Katie M. O'Brien, and is basically ripped straight from the pages of the comic.
And just like a total warrior badass. Like, she will fight through anything, and she's not having any of Kang's shit.
And Veb, played by David S. Malchin. And so the freedom fighters are kind of not very trustful of Cassie and Scott.
Yeah, they think they're spies. They're like, why would you just turn up here? Who are you? Also, interestingly, they know nothing about the world above. They don't know about Earth.
They don't know it exists.
They don't know anything outside of this this is the subterranean quantum realm underneath the quantum realm that we have seen before.
It's a fully realized other universe, and Scott's trying to make them understand we come from this other realm where we're a lot bigger.
Him and Cassie are doing some really funny, like talking to each other with banter. We're bigger, but we're not bigger.
And Quas is like, they're telling the truth, but I have no idea what
He's like, they know nothing.
Meanwhile, Kang has sent his ultimate killing machine, I guess. A machine... wait, what is it?
Only designed for killing. Wait. Mechanized, mechanized organism designed only for killing.
MODOK. And MODOK attacks the freedom fighter camp and absolutely razes it to the ground.
Using his cosmic beam, his cosmic blades.
He's got like he's got these laser saw blades and the whole thing. And Cassie and Scott are captured. The rebels are routed. And Cassie and Scott are taken to meet Kang. Over at Janet and Hank and Hopeland, Janet is finally like, okay, here's what happened. There's this guy, Kang. He landed. I helped him out. His ship was broken down. It needed gas. I helped him get gas for his ship.
Yeah, and that gas was this swirling band of light that many people, including myself, thought could be the Ten Rings, could be something that Phastos built. But in this case, they were almost like taken from a clock, and they are the core that pushes Kang's time chair through multiverses. And Janet was able to help him, which I feel like is going to come into play in the future. Like, you're going to have a Janet on the Avengers who knows how to make a time chair, because she knows.
But right when the chair is gassed all the way up.
And they are like friends.
Yeah, Kang is like,
connected.
Hey,
they're going home.
We're going home.
And you don't know how long it is.
You're
Janet
going back to the second you left.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is, you don't know. Janet said it was ages. This could have been most of her time in the quantum realm. This is someone she spent so much time with. She told him about hope. They shared their lives. They had this deep connection. This is a ship that I now ship. And
I mean, can we talk about that?
Let's talk about that.
So part of the reason, apparently, that Janet didn't want to talk about the quantum realm was, one, the war. I guess it was very traumatic. Lots of people died. Okay,
and she blames herself.
Yeah, but you could mention that. The second thing, more understandable, is she fucked Krylar.
I'm sorry. That is unbelievable.
When did she fuck Krylar?
No, I do not believe it. She
admitted she fucked Krylar.
She was like, sorry, Hank, a woman has needs. I'm like, this is misogyny.
You're getting it from Krylar?
It would have been Kang. I see
that to me is like,
the chemistry.
You fucked Kang. Just admit you fucked Kang.
That's why you keep it a secret, right? Because you literally had sex with like an evil warlord. But Kang
rearranged my spine.
Yeah, like
Hank.
Literally.
You want to know what happened? You want to know why I don't want to talk about the quantum realm? Because Kang rearranged the alignment of my hips.
We had time sex, and you could never even compare. It was sex through the multiverse. And the truth is,
he's seen every kind of sexual technique throughout every timeline. He's seen it all,
every timeline. And the truth
is, he's read every Cosmo 20 tips that will blow his mind. He's done it all, Hank.
Every Kama Sutra from every universe.
You can't possibly
and Hank
measure up.
And the thing is, like, the chemistry is actually there. Like,
I agree.
Between Michelle and Bill Murray is like...
Just admit you fuck Kang.
Yeah, it was Kang. That's my headcanon.
I agree, because why else not say anything?
It doesn't make any... And also, like, the tender moments that they shared together, fixing,
they really did.
doing, like, sexy ship-building montages.
all the time.
And then, like, sitting with their legs touching, talking about their former lives.
Drinking. There's that one scene where there's like, and they're sweating, sitting right next to each other, and, like, passing a sleeve of water back and forth. What are you so out of breath for?
Yeah, what are you so tired? What are you doing? What have you been doing, guys?
What's been going on? Come on. Janet helps Kang gas up the chair, and then she touches the chair, and because the chair is so linked with Kang's mind, there's no controls. He controls it with his thoughts. She is able to touch his thoughts, and she then realizes, oh my God, Kang is a multi-dimensional genocidal warlord who has wiped out trillions upon trillions of life forms, entire timelines destroyed because of this guy, Kang. And she can't, it's such a stunning reveal that she can't hide it. Like, he looks at her and he knows immediately that this has happened.
He's like, oh, you saw it, Janet. Yeah. He's like, sorry, Janet. But he offers her, he says to her, and this is like a great character moment for Janet, because he basically says to her, he's like, you can just forget about it. He's like,
Yeah,
I can
don't
actually.
worry about it.
He's like, not even that. I can make you forget that you even know. He's
Don't
like, you can
worry
just
about
go
it.
home. You'll never have left, and you will not know anything about the terrible things that I did. Yeah, it's really wild stuff. And one of my favorite Jonathan Majors moments in a movie that's absolutely full of them. Janet, she's kind of quizzing him, and she says to him, like, what are you going to do when you get out of here? I'm sure she wants him to say, like, I'll make amends.
Not destroy your universe.
And he looks at the camera, and they do a full face close up of Jonathan Majors, and he goes, win. And she's like, nope.
I do like this kind of reading of Kang that he's just like, he's in it. He's in it for the thrill of competition. Yeah. He's like the Michael Jordan of destroying timelines.
Exactly. He's pissed off at his fucking fellow Kangs, and he's like, no, I must succeed. It has to be me.
You could see Janet being like, well, if I invite you back to my world, you're going to fight everybody, right? Like, you're going to destroy it.
And he's like, not your world.
Let me ask you a moral question. So you meet up Kang in the quantum realm. Things may or may not happen. And then he's like, I'll deliver you back to your world. And he insists that I'm not going to kill your universe, but I will kill other universes. Do you go back?
Look, morally, the answer is no. But,
right. Morally, the answer is no.
But it is, I'm also not Janet, yeah? I'm going to be real with you.
What do I know about other universes?
This is Jonathan Majors Kang. I'll be like, I'll come sit in that time chair with you. It's like when Shuri was like, oh no more. I can't burn down the world. And I'm like, why? Like they literally destroyed your whole family. Like this is a gift. So yes, morally, don't let him do it. And obviously you'd have to live with that your whole rest of your life. It would be terrible. So it's bad times.
So Janet is like, okay, I can't consign my universe to the depredations of Kang the Conqueror. So therefore, I am going to take the energy core that I helped gas up, and I'm going to steal it from him. And Kang gives chase, but then Janet hits it with the Pym embiggen particles and turns it into this huge kind of swirling vortex of energy and time dilation and everything, and now Kang is trapped. And Kang, now that he's trapped, decides, well, I might as well just conquer the quantum realm, and then goes about doing
and builds
that.
This unbelievable empire. Like, the implication is that really what we see as the quantum realm now is mostly Kang doing.
It.
There was people who lived there and there were communities, but Kang is the one who's made it this kind of bustling, technocratic, like kind of space. Obviously, through nightmarish dictatorship, there's lots of like fascistic, paintings of him on
cops,
the wall.
Yeah.
He made cops who were like, I guess, robot cops,
Unclear.
some kind of blue-faced cops. So yeah, he's not doing very nice things there. Old Kang.
Over at Kang's headquarters, Kang meets Scott and Cassie, who are in prison, and he tells them, Scott tries to bluff and is like, oh, you fucked up this time, dude.
I'm an Avenger.
I
called the other Avengers.
Yeah, we're coming. I don't want to flash my badge, but that's what's going on. And Kang's like, oh, I've killed the Avengers.
Yeah, he was
literally,
like, have I killed you before?
Yeah, I can't even count the amount of times I've killed the Avengers. Are you Thor? And Scott has a funny joke about, people...
they confuse us all the time.
Confuse us all
It's
the
our
time.
body types. They're so similar.
So Kang says to Scott, hey, you have a problem. You have a solution to my problem, which is my embiggened energy core for my ship. You can shrink it down. And I would like you to help me shrink it down. I'd like you to go in there, shrink it down for me. And if you'll do that, I will let you and your daughter live and you can go leave and do whatever. But if you don't do it, I'm going to kill her. And then to kind of, show how powerful he is, he just makes a couple of gestures with his very, very futuristic and extremely powerful power suit. And sort
of like
basically tortures
Kang Cruciatus curses
like,
Cassie. Like she's like up and she's in a lot of pain.
Paralyzed.
And
she's upside down.
Yeah.
He's like bending her arm back, and Scott is like, "Fine, I'll fucking do it." And he goes off and he dives into the huge energy core.
Yeah, and this is very interesting. I will stop here because this is just for people who find this this is one of those things that we always talk about as fans. This is very different from what they showed us in the trailer. In the trailer, they kind of cut the dialogue to make it seem like Scott was going to make a deal with Kang to get back the time that he wanted from Cassie, like that he'd missed with Cassie. But I'm glad that wasn't the route they went. I think that was a bit of a red herring because Scott would never do that. But what happens is Cassie is there, so he knows he'll do anything to save his daughter, and that kind of pits him against what Hank and Hope and Janet are trying to do, which is get the core and take it away so Kang can't have it.
So in the core, Scott starts splitting off into all the countless versions of himself from all the other timelines. They mostly all look like him, but then there's a Baskin-Robbins Scott, I guess the Scott that never left
Baskin-Robbins, yeah.
And Scott is, they all form kind of like an ant body structure, like an ant tower where that Scott,
Yeah, when he
climbs
hears
up.
Cassie, they all join
very
together
interstellar
because
type
the
movement,
only
yeah.
thing that they want is to save Cassie. Before that, they were all freaking out. Every single version of him is like a different possibility of what could happen, but the one thing that they all share is they all want to save Cassie.
So he's climbing towards the core, but he can't quite get to it. And just then, Hope, Hank, and Janet arrive in Krylar's stolen ship, and Janet dives into the core, and she is able to, together with Scott, help him shrink down the core back to normal size. MODOK then, while this is all going on, attacks Hank's ship. MODOK crashes the ship that Hank is piloting that they stole from Krylar. But Hank is then rescued by something strange, which will then be revealed later. MODOK, it turns out, is our good friend Darren Cross, the former CEO of Pym Technologies. He took over from Hank Pym and kind of usurped his power and was attempting to duplicate his technology, which he was going to sell, to various countries that wanted to weaponize this technology. But then, of course, he was defeated and, we thought, sucked into some kind of like subatomic realm to disappear forever. But clearly he survived, but with his head all huge and his little baby arms.
And I will say, this is we were right, because we did theorize when they revealed that it was Corey Stoll and Darren Cross, that what had happened was he'd got sucked in, and when he ended up in the quantum realm, he essentially was just left with his head being bigger than everything else. That was right. And we also were suggesting last week that perhaps instead of AIM being the ones who would control and create him and kind of turn him into MODOK, it was Kang, and that was also right. And what I did not see coming is that you get to see like a little MODOK butt shot.
That was so funny.
That was like, I was a fan.
He's got a very
MODOKs.
tall butt.
Yeah, he has. It's a little MODOK butt when he's getting pulled out and put into his chair.
It's
of
like
power.
it's like very narrow but tall.
Yeah, very Gudetama-ish, like a egg with a butt.
Later, Hank tells Scott that he was saved by ants, and that yes, these are his ants from his lab when everything in the lab was sucked into the quantum realm, along with Hank, Hope, Scott, and Cassie. And that the ants, because of the time dilation in the quantum realm, lived like 1,000 years of time in a minute span of time. And in that 1,000 years that passed in the blink of an eye, they evolved into this super smart socialist race of
Like
technologically advanced
technocratic ants. And it's incredible. And Hank is really like, there's a lot of fun to be had this movie with kind of Hank's previous comic book history, which we talked about a little bit. Hank could control ants with the helmet that he created, and he beat Loki with ants. And this movie, they really lean into that. Janet rags on him about it. Hope rags on him about it. Like, this man just loves ants. He loves them. And you see it, and he's so proud of his ants now. And he is like, he probably, if he had a choice whether to leave or to stay with the ants, I think he'd probably choose to stay with the ants.
Kang has the now shrunken down core ready to put in his ship, and he's making preparations to leave and invade the above realm, which we can only assume to be Earth. He's taking his entire empire with him. Meanwhile, Cassie manages to escape from her holding cell.
Thanks to the ants.
Who are now running around, and she finds Gentora, who's also being held somewhere, and together they start freeing all the prisoners inside Kang's headquarters, and in a Captain America addressing S.H.I.E.L.D. over the PA at the end of Winter Soldier moment, she is like, hey, now is our time. We need to strike. Let's start the rebellion. She basically sends this broadcast, hijacks Kang's broadcast, sends it all across the microverse. Sends it all across the quantum realm.
It's the same thing.
And starts an insurgency. Scott charges Kang's Eternal City. He's
giant.
He's giant. He's like 100 feet tall. He's smashing through. It seems like he might get all the way through to him, but he doesn't. And then Kang says to Scott, Like, what did you fucking think you were going to do? You think you're going to beat me? You can't beat me. You talk to ants. And that is the moment when...
Dun, dun, dun. All the ants
come. And some of the ants are absolutely huge.
Some of them are wearing like sick armor,
yes.
and they're like communicating. And Hank's there with his little red scarf on, looking like he's leading a army of socialist ants. It's very cute. The freedom fighters emerge. They go up against Kang, and it seems like
it's a rise of Skywalker.
It's like huge. Like and you know they came. It's kind of this huge moment. But I will say that I just have to shout out one of my favorite movies. Everyone knows it. I'm not going to say Eternals. Okay. I'm wearing the t-shirt.
I thought you were going to say Eternals.
What I was going to say is I feel like the final battle draws really heavily from Aquaman, because in Aquaman,
good call.
The whole joke throughout the movie is like, oh, he talks to fish, like what a useless power. But the final battle is he calls upon all the sea creatures, and that is what enables them to kind of win. And you might be thinking like, well, that's kind of wild that Kang just got beat by some ants. But you know, there's things are still coming.
So Kang is like he puts up a force shield, but the ants, there's just too many fucking ants, guys.
Yeah,
there's
and
so many ants.
MODOK,
they sweep him away. MODOK comes in,
helps them break through his force field,
but then is grievously injured by his very, very brief fight with Kang, and the ants sweep everything away, and our heroes are left looking at the broken body of MODOK, who is dying, and he's like, oh my god, like. I finally did something good. At least I died an Avenger. And Scott and Hope are like, yeah, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah, you definitely died an Avenger.
And he's like, you were always a brother to me, Scott. And Scott's like, yes.
Yeah, we did it. So the thought is now, okay, Kang's gone. We did it. This is fucking great. Let's get out of here. So Janet is able, in Kang's control room, to open up another portal back to the world. They all jump through. Scott is about to jump through, but guess who's there? It's fucking Kang. And his suit is shredded now. So he's not as powerful as he once was.
But his muscles are powerful.
He's obviously jacked. And his suit can do a little stuff. And he basically beats the living tar out of Scott Lang for a period of time. But then Scott manages, to basically destroy the core once again, to embiggen it. And Kang gets sucked into the core and disappears, but it also destroys the portal. And this basically leaves Scott and Hope trapped in the quantum realm. Hope had jumped back through to try and help Scott. In the end of the movie, Cassie is able to rebuild her quantum tunneling device, her quantum communication device, and they bring Scott and Hope back to the world, and we see Scott enjoying San Francisco as if he never left. It seems as if he was deposited back like almost the very day
it seems,
that he had previously
which, by the way, is suspicious because we know that time works differently in the quantum realm, so that's already should be a hint.
Yeah.
And then we get what is probably like my favorite joke / moment in the movie because they play it so well. These were the pickups that I'm pretty sure I saw them filming in San Pedro when I went to get my phone screen fixed. and Scott is walking and he's talking about being an Avenger, and suddenly Ruben from the coffee shop knows who he is. He's the Bug Man. He's not Spider-Man. That means he doesn't get free coffee. He has to pay $12, San Francisco prices. And then they zoom in on Scott's face and they drop this absolutely just existentially horrifying score when Scott's like, oh, wait.
Kang's gone, right? Yeah, we beat him, didn't we?
And he's like,
great.
He's like, wait a minute. I think I remember Kang saying that something bad was coming, and if we didn't let him out, we would all die. And he's like, but we did not let him out, and he died, so I think that's okay.
Right.
And he did. Getting sucked into the portal would have killed him, right? It wouldn't have just sent him somewhere else, because that would probably be a problem. And then he's like so many of us who suffer from anxiety do, he's like, don't worry about it. Actually, it's fine. And then he goes off and has like a charming dinner with his family, and everything's great, and he's kind of making up to Cassie for all the birthdays he missed by doing a fake birthday dinner.
Then we go to stinger number 1.
Bum, bum, bum.
It is, we see Immortus, we see Ramatut, and we see a younger kind of Alita Battle Angel-esque
Yeah, let's
Kang.
talk about this.
So
who is that Kang?
I think it's either Kid Immortus or the Iron Lad.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that it's a very different design. We pretty much covered like the main Kang variants, and there are not like many that are fully fleshed out outside of just like some fun Council of Kang appearances. So I think you're right. I think it's it would be really cool if it was Kid Immortus. He looked kind of young. He was wearing this, like you said, Battle Angel Alita skinhead. Iron Lad would be awesome. I would love to see them do that storyline. Would also be really another Young Avengers character when we've gotten Cassie in this movie. Yeah. It could be like, Chris pointed this out, where it's like, it could be a kind of modified Scarlet Centurion costume, because that's the other major character. But in this scene, the other two characters, Immortus and Ramatut, have the most like classic, like almost like Party City, and I mean that in a compliment. Like their costumes are like, they stuck to the comic books.
Directly ripped from the
comics.
Like
they look, so I think that the idea of it being someone like Kid Immortus or Iron Lad makes a lot more sense than them redesigning the iconic Scarlet Centurion costume, which I will shout out once again.
So Immortus and Ramatut and the younger Kang, who is either the Iron Lad, Kid Immortus, or someone else, are like, hey, did you hear? He's dead. Who? Kang, and they basically are referencing Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, they're like the one we banished.
They had banished to the quantum realm, and they're like, this is fucking great. He's dead.
And then they're like, but aren't we all pissed we didn't kill him?
Yeah,
like,
and they are kind of pissed that we didn't kill him. And then they start talking about, okay, but whoever did kill him, that's a problem, because now they say something to the effect of they are aware of the multiverse now. Basically saying the heroes of Earth kind of know about the multiverse, and that might be a problem because it threatens our vast intertime empires that we have all built, and therefore they have gathered all of the Kangs together in this vast place to have to basically call the Council of Crosstime Kangs to just vote on what their next move is.
And I will say something that's really important to kind of touch on here as well is, so Kang the Conqueror, we saw the horrific things that he did. But when he explained it to Janet, and later on when he was monologuing to Janet in a really nice kind of echo of the He Who Remains stuff, he claimed he was doing it to protect other worlds from these other Kangs. He felt like they were conquering too much and he had to stop them, and they were trying to stop him. So there's this kind of constant battle, which is key to Kang. But when Scott said to him, what's coming? He said, me, like lots of me.
Yeah.
And so we're now seeing, I'm not defending what Kang did. I don't know the horrors that he wrought, but we are definitely seeing an immediate ripple effect of these giant Council of Cross-Time Kangs by, like, you know, two icons, Walt Simonson and John Buscema from Avengers 292. Like, we are seeing that come to fruition immediately. Like, this is going to be a problem for the Avengers, and it's not just going to be one Kang that turns up one time and another one. They are together, and there are thousands of Kangs here.
Now, what maybe muddies the waters a little bit is Kang mentions that one of the main threats alongside all the versions of him is incursions. He says specifically incursions, which, you know, for people who have read Hickman's New Avengers and Avengers Illuminati and The Time Runs Out timeline, will understand that this is a reference to the smashing together of various dimensions into the Earth 616 dimension, and the choices that some of the kind of the main superheroes of the 616 universe, the hard choices that they have to make to save the 616 universe. So, and of course we've seen an image of incursions previously, so it seems like whatever the effect of all of these Kangs is, it will be tied up with these potential incursions of various dimensions smashing into the Earth.
Definitely, and this is going to lead into, you know, this is like, you know, Kevin Feige calls it the multiverse saga. Like, this is going to lead into whatever reason we get to Secret Wars. This is it. Kang Dynasty, you know, he even says it. The Kang Dynasty, and then Cassie, like, breaks through him, you know. This is our big moment where we meet the people who are going to cause it. And every single one of them is Jonathan Majors, and I love it. There's every kind of Jonathan Majors. They are hyped up. This is like a sports event. There's a Skrull at the end who's like, is it Lizard Kang? Is it a Kang who's a Skrull? Like, it's very interesting and fun. And if you love the Council of Kangs and you love these kind of deep cut, like, Marvel cosmic stuff, you will be very happy with that thing.
Yeah, it's very Avengers Forever. It feels like they launched to Avengers Forever.
I definitely think that's the route we're going, especially because there's, like, a really interesting thing here with Hank becoming the one who's obsessed with the ants and Scott kind of being moved away from the ants. I think, you know, we were talking before this, but you were kind of mentioning, like, some characters that Scott, or some monikers Scott could take on aside from Ant-Man.
Let's talk about that in a second after we mentioned stinger number 2. So we go back to the early 20th, late 19th century. And it's some kind of like, traveling showman kind of vaudeville kind of setup somewhere in a small theater. And a scientist named Victor Timely, played by Jonathan Majors, is showing off what he claims to be his time machine. And in the audience, our friends from the Time Variance Authority and elsewhere, Mr. Mobius and Loki are sitting there watching him. And Loki says, "That's him. That's the bad guy. That's Kang." And Mobius is like, "Are you sure?"
He seems great.
He seems great. This seems awesome. And then we cut. And this very much seems to be a trailer for Loki season 2.
Yes.
Like this is going to be some sort of Kang launch into the rest of the universe. Okay, let's talk about our takeaways from this. First, we mentioned Avengers Forever. This is a movie that feels like heavily edited. We'll talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like they definitely moved a lot of the deck chairs around all throughout the production process of this movie. It seems to me that if they go the Avengers Forever route, which we won't spoil, but you should read because it's
very fun.
It's really fun. It's 12 issues. It's really great. And you'll get a lot of the backstory of Kang and Immortus and some of the other Kangs. But in that story, Immortus and Kang end up kind of going head-to-head with their own set of allies. And Kang is kind of the good guy. Kang kind of allies with the Avengers against Immortus and the things the Immortus wants to do, which, listen, I think that Marvel looked at what Jonathan Majors is doing and kind of said, how do we make him kind of good?
Yeah.
How can we get a good version of Kang?
I absolutely agree with you. He's definitely, there's so many different iterations of the character that throughout history it would be so easy for them to cast a version of Kang, whether it's Nathaniel Richards, whether it's, a tired, kind of weary, aged Immortus, or whether it is actually Kang the Conqueror who comes back and realizes the error of his ways, or realizes the only way he can get what he wants is to help the Avengers. We're definitely going to see a heroic version because Jonathan Majors can just sell it so hard.
Yeah.
And literally, like, his performance in this movie is so good. I love the final episode of Loki is one of my favorite episodes of MCU TV because of Jonathan Majors. And this movie, his performance is so good that you understand why someone would be like,
he's amazing.
Let's just build a whole part of a franchise around him. Like, let's see what he can do.
Let's tell us about your Victor Timely theory, which I like a lot.
Okay, so spoiler alert for Victor Timely's 7 appearances. Yes, as the listeners know, I like a strange character, so I am a fan of Victor Timely. In the comics, Victor Timely, as I kind of mentioned last week when I was just talking about Kang variants, and I didn't think that Victor Timely would be in the movie. Victor Timely was a version of Kang who everyone thought was dead, and it to hide in space and time. He went back in the past. He went to 1902, and he founded this time a town called Timely, Wisconsin. A nice reference to the old Marvel comics, and basically he used his skills and intelligence and all of the weaponry and technology that he had known throughout the years to basically create a super technological town, even though it looked like kind of an old West town. He has a cool mustache like Jonathan Majors. So my gut says, if they're going to do this, they will end up doing what they did in the comics, which is this is really Kang, probably the Kang that we just saw.
Right.
It's not like this true different version of Kang. This is a persona that Kang puts on to hide. I think the coolest thing, one, because I want him to be in every episode, I think that this Victor Timely is probably going to team up with Loki and Mobius and be like, yes, we must stop the other Kangs. Like,
right.
I am just a good old time traveler. Like, yay. But then we're going to learn at some point that he is actually Kang the Conqueror who escaped from this part of the quantum realm.
The thing about Kangs, just as an aside,
a Kang aside.
The thing about Kangs, and Immortus included, is they are all the time plotting against the other Kangs. Like they are like
the pettiest motherfuckers.
They call the Council of Crosstime Kangs. Hey, everybody show up. Meanwhile, like they're like they're putting
They're gonna just all Brutus each
yeah,
other.
they're like putting explosives again under one of their seats. Like one of them, they're like planning on stabbing in the closet. Like they are always plotting against each other. So I like that. One of the things that we talked about is Cassia's stature, and we kind of got it in this movie.
Yeah, she turns giant. She has a giant hug with her dad. I think it will be really cool to see Cassie on her own, like especially if they've established her as this kind of freedom fighter-esque, like someone with big morals. That could be really good for a Young Avengers team. It's also going to be interesting because early on in the movie, in that kind of first like really swift 10 minutes that sets up the quantum realm stuff, Scott is wary of her being a hero, and I think that conflict is going to come into play. I also think it's interesting because I do think that probably Scott is going to move away from the Ant-Man mantle, and it will be like Goliath or Giant Man, and you maybe
Yellow
have
Jacket
that,
even.
Yeah, you know, in memory of Darren Cross.
Yeah, in memory of my good friend
say,
Darren Cross,
my brother. I have to say, look, man, I'm a big MODOK fan. I love a cosmic beam. I'm not 100% sold on the Darren Cross MODOK. I hope that we will see a different version of MODOK in the future, but maybe that's unlikely. It is such a weird character to do, so maybe it's one of the ones where it's better to just do it in a unique way. But that to me was the biggest, like, that felt like a real solid, like, Rick and Morty joke. Like, you see MODOK and then you're like, yo, that's Darren, my friend from work. Like, that was the one where I felt like it really crossed over into that rather than being a reflection of all the things that inspired Rick and Morty. Because I think that's where those similarities come across, is Rick and Morty draws so heavily from the comics.
Let's talk about the Rick and Morty of it all. So Jeff Loveness, screenwriter behind this film, of course, came up from the Rick and Morty pipeline.
Like so many Marvel
talents. And it was interesting to see people say, oh man, this is like really influenced by Rick and Morty. When in fact,
Rick and Morty was influenced by this weird shit.
And it's just kind of repackaged it, and everybody forgot.
The reason there's a Council of Ricks is because there's a Council of Kangs. Like, that comes directly from it. So it's kind of that interesting cyclical stuff, especially because the sci-fi of it all and the pulp of it all, that's been in the veins of this storyline since we were talking about, you know, Captain America 43 or something. Like, there's some old, or 23 or something, where it's like some old 40s comics written by a pulp writer. So yeah, it was definitely interesting to see that. The MODOK thing was the only one for me where I was like, that feels like it could be in Rick and Morty. Everything else I was like, this is just someone who loved playing in that playground and with these genre tropes, finally getting to do it in a way that's actually canon, which is really cool to see. And I love the inclusion of like Veb. I love like a weird monster, and I think David Dastmalchian is so good. I missed seeing his character from Ant-Man. I missed seeing Louise, but I understand what the choices were that they made and why it needed to be this kind of expanded science fiction film.
I will say, so to think about the things that were changed, I'm pretty sure there's a version of this movie where all the secondary characters that you meet in the and I keep calling the microverse, in the quantum realm, like Gentora, like Veb, like Quaz, got a Korg treatment where you learn some of their backstory, and it feels like that really hit the cutting room floor. And secondarily, and I think this is like what people are responding to in some of the bad reviews, I think that if you gave Victoria Alonso and Kevin Feige like the ability to snap their fingers,
Kang style,
like Thanos style, excuse me, and recreate the reality the way they wanted to, I think that Kang would make his debut in like either an Avengers movie proper, or Thor, or somebody
Iron Man, or Spider-Man, or like an A-list.
Yeah, somebody who is not Ant-Man. No disrespect to Ant-Man, who I love, and I think the first Ant-Man movie is really, really fun, and I think the briefcase fight is maybe my favorite action scene in all of the Marvel movies. I think the second one is good. And I think Scott Lang, fills a very specific niche in the MCU. I think if your supposition is that Kang, he's so scary that Janet doesn't even want to talk about him anymore unless, she fucked him. But
that's the version I want to see. That was what was on the cutting room floor for me.
He is this scary warlord who is so scary that other versions of himself throughout the multiverse are scared of him. Then it's a little bit like, so he got beat by the ants? He got beat by Scott Lang?
So this is, I think, another thing that I think people are reacting to. You are 100% right in the context of the MCU, right? But isn't that like the most comic book thing
It
ever?
is.
That Kang would just get beaten by some random, like lower tier hero who managed to see through him. It's so comic booky. The same way you pointed out after the cinema when I was talking about MODOK, you were like, that's so MODOK. Like MODOK will come in and just get wiped out.
He's the first two pages of the
and then
issue
he's out, right? And I think in that way, this kind of same with I Found Multiverse of Madness. I think when the movies become very similar to the way that comic book narratives are told, where they're a little bit more like, you can be here for a couple of minutes and then you're here and some really wild powers happen and the stakes aren't necessarily as emotionally driven and grounded, that's not always going to sit well with people who grew up with Winter Soldier or people who really loved the early era of Iron Man, you know? This is a very different beast. And I do think that also, I wonder, this is not a think, it's more of a question. I wonder if people who really wanted it to feel different from Phase 4, I think that also might be a bit of a feeling. Because this feels to me like it's in that same wheelhouse.
Well, we're in that multiverse kind of era. And to that, you know, in that vein, part of what, basically all of what makes Kang so hard to fight is that he's got weapons that are 1,000,000 years more advanced than anybody else's because he can time travel. He's fought everybody, every version of everybody. And so he's like a video game player with endless lives. He just like understands.
He's a living cheat code.
Yeah, he knows how to speed run every fight there is. And then he gets beat by the giant super smart ants, which I love. That said, it feels like the other thing that makes, I think, people maybe not so satisfied with that ending is that I could see a world in which you needed a setup for the ants, like, and this is going to sound like a joke, but like Antony level character development for the ants, so that there is a little bit of journey
you could even
when
be
the
like,
ants show up and murk Kang.
The ants know. This is what I would have done. This would have been my bit that ended up on the, the chopping room floor. I would say this. It's like the ants were so technologically advanced that they knew about Kang. They knew that he had this power, and they basically hid their identity from him in every universe so they could beat him in this one universe. You could have like a 30-second to 1 minute kind of bit about something like that. But like you said, I really felt that the first 2 acts, there was a lot of, I felt like maybe like a bit of puzzling putting together, where there was probably a little bit more time spent with each character.
I do think you need that ant piece because, it begs the question in future fights with Kangs.
Can you just always beat him with
Where
an
are
ant?
the fucking ants? Can we go back to the quantum realm and get the ants?
Hank, bring those fucking ants!
Where are the ants?
Dude, in like 4 years, we'll be
it's
like, oh shit, the ants, they came back!
like Kang
that was the Deus Ex Machina.
Kang is like beating the fucking shit out of all the Shang-Chi.
Thanos has come back, he's on their side, it's him and Adam Warlock, and then just the ants are the only thing that can defeat
somebody's
him.
like, Hank! The ants! And it's like, oh yeah, the ants!
They come up like the Last of Us bloaters, like they're just like...
But that's part of it. The movie is getting absolutely crushed on Rotten Tomatoes, which I do think it's part of what you're saying. This is a 6-issue arc that I would read in an Ant-Man comic. And I think it's if you're not in love with this world, it might be a little difficult to deal with. The other stuff, there's some critiques of Michael Douglas sleepwalking through this movie. I thought Michael Douglas was great.
Oh, it's great.
I think if you're gonna to me, it's definitely not an Odin level. Literally Odin actually sleeps through his role.
Yeah, baby, iconic.
That's part of his character. Is for large chunks of the movie, he's
and then when he's
somnolent.
awake, he's just like,
he's
I'm
asleep.
dying. He's like, I'm dead, babes. Okay, so currently it's at 52% when we recorded this, which is 5% higher than Eternals. So will it become the lowest rated MCU movie? I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, it's just subjective. It's just a bunch of different critics. I end up on there sometimes. It's a bunch of different critics who come together. I was very happy to see when I was checking the Eternals Rotten Tomatoes score, 77% audience
People are coming
score.
around. People are coming
around.
They're coming around.
They're learning the good book of the Eternals and Chloe Zhao.
You know what? I need to watch it again. I watched it a few months ago, but I need to kind of watch it again because I will say that I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania significantly more in the theater than I did initially The Eternals, which is now, as you mentioned, climbing the ranks of the tomato.
The audience scores.
The audience scores of the tomato machine. But that's it. It is a wild, wacky movie.
If you love the MCU,
enjoyed.
you're going to be happy. It's a wild MCU ride. Jonathan Majors. I like your prediction. I feel like when we get Kang Dynasty, it surprises us all. It's like not an Avengers movie. It's just like a solo Jonathan Majors Kang movie.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to be the Oscar. I see it in his future.
Kang is there. All the Kangs. The Avengers are routed. And then you hear on your left... and the portals open, and it's ants.
Actually, I was just going to say before, I think we hit every other we were right. But the one thing I want to say, last week, when Jason did his very good MCU timeline of the Ant-Man family, and I was kind of peppering in some little comic book footnotes, one thing that we did have a lot of fun talking about was how much Hank loves ants, yeah? So I'm basically taking that as we were right, because that has not been a part of the MCU in the way that it was in this movie. So I'm saying it. I'm saying we were right.
Let the ants, colonize the Savage Land and let them just, live there. Anyway,
sounds cool.
That's a free idea for Kevin Feige.
Yeah, free with royalties.
Yeah. Up next, Nerd Out.
In today's Nerd Out, where you tell us what you love and why, or a theory that you're excited to share, which you know we love to hear, Grant tells us a very relevant theory about He Who Remains from season 1 of Loki. And this is actually, Grant actually sent multiple emails to explain this theory. So Jason, I'll let you do the reading.
Here he goes. Here's Grant. I was watching the finale of Loki again before Quantumania comes out, and something that always bugged me, that we didn't know where He Who Remains Palace is. I've always thought that the end of the multiverse saga would find us back with He Who Remains at his palace, which led to my theory, He Who Remains Palace is located on the ruins of Battleworld. Oh, that's pretty cool.
I love that.
That's actually really cool. Also, He Who Remains says he won the multiversal war by taming Alioth. What if the snap-like event at the end of Kang Dynasty and the lead into Secret Wars is He Who Remains unleashing Alioth on the multiverse? I like that as well. Okay, sorry, one last thing. What if the question of which timeline will become the sacred timeline is what Secret Wars is fought over? Oh, that's good.
Wow.
All of Earth's mightiest heroes brought from all the timelines to figure out which one is sacred. Okay, that's
Grant,
good.
I'm like, get hired, because that's
I know, that's actually
also,
really good.
Think about that. That kind of takes my very good Kevin Feige hire me idea of Deadpool being hired by the TVA to kill
off
all the timelines. I like this version better, where it's almost like all of them have to come together to fight alongside. But as they're doing it, they realize the only thing they can do is save one timeline, and they all basically have to choose which one. That would be really, really interesting.
I think that is really cool. I particularly like that the He Who Remains Palace is built on the ruins of Battleworld. That is really cool.
Because I think a lot of us, a lot of people had thought, is it in the quantum realm? I had a lot of people DM me asking me if that was something that they thought could happen. And I really like that theory. But that one is really exciting to me because I like the idea that his ruins are in the remain of something that has already happened for him, but that we don't know about. That's very Kang.
And just for those of you who aren't familiar with Secret Wars or Battleworld, basically in a post-incursion world, the universe is remade by Doctor Doom, who creates this battle planet that is ruled by by these different warlords and these different fiefdoms.
Where kind of every universe exists on one globe.
On one globe. There's a universe of Thors. There's a universe beyond the wall, et cetera, a universe of zombies, et cetera, all in one planet. That's a really cool theory, Grant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was the best. Thanks so much, Grant. And if you have a theory like Grant or passions that you want to share, like so many of our other awesome nerd outs, hit us up at xray@crooked.com. As always, you can find those instructions in the show notes.
That is it for us. Rosie, any plugs?
Read the stuff that I've written about Ant-Man. If you want to know about MODOK, the real version, not the Darren Cross version, I wrote a big explainer at IGN. I have a cover story for Den of Geek that you can now read, and it has some cool interviews with people like Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. That was incredibly cool. Rachel Zegler, who was just a total delight, who are going to be playing the villainesses in Shazam. I also interviewed the director and the lead of that movie. So you can pick that up at a comic shop or you can read it online. And Rosie Marks at Instagram and Letterboxd. That's where you can find me, other than here, every week, twice.
In addition to the fact that we are now dropping twice a week, Wednesday and Fridays, in your podcast feed, we are proud to announce that X-Ray Vision merch is now at the Crooked Store. That's right. You can get a X-Ray Vision Was Right t-shirt. You can get the t-shirt with a little wizard guy on it.
Just chilling.
You can get all manner of X-Ray Vision merch at the Crooked Store. Now, some housekeeping. We're taking this coming Wednesday, February 22nd off because of President's Day, which is Monday, but don't worry about it. That's when we record. That's just for us. That means our next episode is going to be Friday, February 24th. We'll be covering The Last of Us. So remember, 2 episodes a week. See you then.
Yeah, and if you like to see us with your eyeballs as well as your ear holes, you can subscribe on YouTube, where we now have full episodes of the show. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at XRVPod, where we retweet cool stuff and share stuff about the show and talk to our fans. And speaking of talking to fans, you can come to our Discord, which is absolutely amazing and has a ton of great people in there, a bunch of great channels, all different spaces to talk about your fandoms. And me and Jason are in there too.
5-star ratings, 5-star reviews. We need them. We love them. We got to have them. Here's one from student at a community college. Hilarious. Show never fails to make me laugh. The creators are extremely knowledgeable about their topics, and their interviewees are always interesting. Thank you so much, student at a community college.
Thanks.
See you next time.